Hey everybody, what's going on? Your host, Lovely Cheese Pizza here. Welcome back to Sports Sunday, where we talk about sports and life and everything in between. And, this is our first Sports Sunday video of 2016. And so I'm hoping that we can ring in the new year with some explosives, because I didn't really get to see enough fireworks on New Year's Eve / New Year's Day. So it'd be cool if we could take in our final matchup with the lovely ladies with some good old-fashioned homemade fireworks. So let's make the most of it. I'm actually kind of hoping that this game actually is a little bit of a game. In recent matches, it's been pretty much just a straight-up blowout. So, I mean, as much as I would love to have more Grand Slams, I would actually like to see them have some life for a change, you know? Give me a little bit of a challenge as a little bit of a parting gift going into our next matchup with a new team. But hey, I can't have everything that I want, you know? I mean, I woke up this morning and we had a nice dusting of snow outside, and that was awesome, aside the fact that I can't fucking drive in it. I mean, I'm not saying that I'm incapable of driving in snow, I'm just saying that I drive a 93 Honda Accord it's front-wheel drive, and it's just, you know, I'm not really comfortable. Like, I start to panic a little bit when my tires slide. Like, that's when things start to, you know, get on me a little bit, and because I had to go to work early in the morning, like, a lot of the snow and the ice was still pretty fresh out there, and so I wasn't comfortable, like, navigating through streets that weren't really driven yet. So I'll get over it. I mean, it's fine now. I ended up having to have my dad drive me to work, and that's not going to be a home run. It's not even going to drop. I mean, it's going to drop into his weird, I don't even know what type of leather they use for that. Is it, I don't know, I guess it doesn't really matter, but yeah, so that's just what's going on. I actually, I'm trying to get this thing filmed and finished in, you know, pretty quick here, because the Blazers are playing right now, and I gotta go check that out, hoping that they can win this time, and not, you know, play the same way they played against the fucking Jazz the other night, when they, you know, got absolutely run out of the building. So, that'll be something that's nice. Hey! Oh! You liar. You absolute liar. I thought I had that one. So, yeah, we'll see what happens there. They're playing against Denver, which it's like the second time they played them in like the last 3 or 4 days. So we'll see what happens there. And the Ducks are playing basketball against the Beavers right now, and they're losing, and that can't happen because that's fucking infuriating. You never want to lose. You never want to lose the game to your in-state rival, especially when your in-state rivals are a bunch of fucking assholes. Oh, he's the devil! Fuller, you devil, you! And now he's not a devil anymore. He has ascended beyond devil to something even better. Really creepy when you have a .666 batting average. But now we'll probably never end up seeing that again. So that's what that is. Yeah, you never want to lose to the in-state rival, because they hold that over your head forever. Thank God with college basketball, though, you can play them up to 3 times in one season. So when they actually have to go play Oregon in Eugene, I feel much better about that. I'm not really... And who knows, they may even still come back and win. I mean, they were losing by 15 at halftime, but they may come back and still win that thing yet, and that'll be really awesome if it does. So that's what that is. Now, here's the main thing I want to talk about tonight. It's still basketball related, which also, by the way, the Warriors lost again, I think, since the last time we had filmed one of these, if I remember correctly. I could be wrong. That's not far enough in. So, I found this to be a very interesting topic to speak on, actually. And, it's, speaking of the Warriors, it's actually related directly off of Steph Curry. And it was actually a comment that Mark Jackson, a former coach of the Warriors, had said in, like, a post-game interview, I think it was, or some, just like during some type of broadcast or something. And he was saying, he's like, now don't get me wrong. He's like, let me preface this. He's like, do not get me wrong. Steph Curry is, you know, he's the MVP. He's the best player in the league. And he's, you know, he's like one of the primary reasons why they won the championship and this and that and the other. He's a great, great, great player. But let me say this. He's like, I think that he has actually, to no fault of his own, really, he has hurt basketball in a way. And so the guy, I don't remember who it was that was talking to him, and he's like, why do you say that? He's like, well, he's like, this is why I think he's hurt basketball. And, you know, and he's like, I do a lot of, he's like, I hold a lot of different, like, training camps and such for, like, high school basketball players and college players. He's like, and I'm going out to these different high schools all across America. And he's like, and this is what I'm seeing. He's like, what I'm seeing is the game of basketball is totally devolving completely. It is absolutely, it is turning into a full-on one-dimensional game. He's like, I'm going to high schools, and these kids are going and they're picking up a basketball, and what's the first thing they do? It's like they walk out to the three-point line and they start hoisting up threes like no one's business, because they want to be like Steph Curry. He's like, now, I don't have a problem with kids, having role models and wanting to be like their favorite player. It's like, but realize that you're never going to be like Steph Curry. You will never be like that. He is a once in a generation, he is a generational transcendent talent in that field. Like, by the end of his career, he will have set every single three-point related record that there is to be held in the world, and maybe a lot of other just shooting records in general, because he's just insanely accurate. But like, he's like, I go to these schools and I see kids just shooting threes. Like, they're not working on their mid-range game. They're not even really working on things like, they're not even working on layups. They're not working on free throws. All they're doing is they're just, they're holding practices and they're just shooting threes. And that is not how basketball should be played. Obviously, there's been the game has been kind of trending towards the three-pointer before he got here, but it has become so much worse since he started rising to fame. And that's where, this problem has started arising, is that he's the forefront of it. Like, kids are, wanting to, because he'll go into a game and he'll shoot 12, 13, 14 three-pointers sometimes. And granted, he'll make a lot of them, but you're not teaching kids, you're to no fault of your own, you're pretty much telling kids, if you can be good at shooting threes, you don't have to work on other things in your game. And that is absolutely not the way that the game should be played. I totally forgot there was a guy on first. Whoops. So I don't know. I think it's kind of an interesting thing, because you kind of walk the line in a sense of is he hurting the game, is he not? You're kind of also in the same vein. You're also showing kids that maybe aren't as athletically gifted as like LeBron James, who can just take a game, he can dominate a game in almost any phase, where he can just plow down the lane and use his sheer athleticism and size to bend people to his own will. Or guys like Kevin Durant, who kind of have the same ability. I mean, you're going to have guys like Steph Curry that are, 5'9", 180 pounds, that aren't going to be able to do those types of things, because obviously there's not, there's a very small amount of the population that are 6'10" and 260 or what have you. It's kind of giving guys like that are kind of like your YMCA weekend warrior type of dudes, just scrapping players. It gives them hope that, maybe there is a place for a guy like me in the league. That you don't have to necessarily give up on the whole thing because of the fact that you're undersized, or you're not exactly, the strongest or the tallest or the biggest guy out there. You can still, have use in an organized team like that. So there's also that, but at the same time, it's just like, I feel like the game needs to have more like Greg Popovich type coaches out there to tell these kids that, like, look, if you really want to, succeed in the league, you have to be a dynamic player. You can't be just a one-dimensional guy. There are so few guys in the professional leagues that have been able to do that being a one-dimensional player. Guys like Kyle Korver, who's a three-point specialist, or guys like Ray Allen, who was a three-point specialist. I mean, there are so few guys like that ever really made it, Like, you want to, like, as much as I fucking hate him, I cannot stand him for the life of me. guys like Draymond Green. You know, he's a guy who's, in a sense, a jack of all trades. He can shoot threes with relative success. He can drive the lane and be a guy with a paint presence. He can be a quality rebounder, both offensively and defensively. He has a decent mid-range game. He is a quality defender. Like, that's what people should be striving to be. You want to be. It's not fun to be a defender in basketball. It's really, well, I mean, actually for a lot of guys it probably is. Oh no! Oh god! Ah, we're gonna get thrown out in second. No, we're not. Why? Why wouldn't you throw that there? That's an instant out. Oh, you dummy. You stupid idiot. Oh well, what do you do? So yeah, like, I don't know. Like, they always say that defense isn't fun. But I think that if you're good at it, it is fun, because you frustrate the guy that you're guarding. And I think that for a lot of people, like, if you succeed at that, that would be so much fun to be able to get into guys' heads at will, because you just drive them nuts. Like, think about like some of your Hall of Fame defending guys. Like, the first one that comes to my mind, just in like my generation, was Bruce Bowen. Guy played for the Spurs for a lot of years. He was a guy that, or like Shane Battier. Shane Battier has been a guy who's been like he's been a quality defender, like, his entire career. Like, those guys, like, people would hate being guarded by them, but they loved it because they were good at it. They were exceptionally good at guarding, and they get up in your head, you know? And that's how they thrive. Yeah, well, they weren't big scorers necessarily, but they could if they needed to be. But actually, you know what? Tony Allen, that's another guy that's actually in the league right now. Tony Allen for Memphis. He's a guy. He's not going to score you a lot of points, but he is a guy that he will defend your best player every game, and usually be pretty good at it, I would say. We're going to switch pitchers now. We're going to bring in a pinch hitter. We brought in AC once, so we're going to bring in ooh, Cheeks Boney Bob Cliff. Here we go. Yeah, look at that hunched over old man. It's a lie, he says. Got away with one of those. Oh, I love the full swing ball. Those are the best in my book. So yeah, I don't know. It's just it's something that when I heard about that, I was like, that is a pretty valid point. It's just, you know, you even see it in college, and it's been going that way too, where you see teams, even like my beloved Oregon Ducks. I love them to death, but they do it a lot. Just, you have guys that almost their entire game is predicated off of, you know, like, even like total offensive schemes. It's predicated off of, you have like 4 guards, or, you know, 2 guards and 2 forwards. They're all around the perimeter. And they'll just pass it around the perimeter, and then one guy just ends up hoisting it after the shot clock runs down too far. Like, that's what a lot of college offenses revolve around now. Like, it's not, you know, throwing the ball down low, having your center use his post moves and putting up a good shot, or, you know, having something happen to, or like having actual ball movement. It's just a matter of, hey, let's hoist the 3 and let's just have a center on our team just in case we miss. He can get the rebound and we can throw it back out and kind of do the whole thing over again. It's just like, that's what college ball is for a lot of teams, and it just drives me crazy. Like, when you actually see fundamentally sound teams that have a full dimension to their team, it just, like, it makes me really happy inside. It's just like, God, yes! The dream has not died yet. There are still teams that do it the right way, you know? It's not all about the highlight reel and who can make a three-pointer from like 37 feet away so that he can get, on, on the SC top 10 or whatever. It's just, it's a frustrating thing, because, and like a lot of kids growing up, like, this is what basketball is to them. Like, they don't remember what true team-oriented, not just isolation ball basketball was like. Like, a lot of these guys don't remember what, like the 90s Bulls and a lot of the teams from like the 70s, 80s, and 90s where you were having a quality center and power forwards and having like actual plays that weren't just isolation related things were like. They just, like, this is what they're growing up seeing. They're growing up seeing guys taking everybody one-on-one, and we're gonna bring in, we'll bring in Peter. Just like we're seeing now, just a lot of isolation ball. You're seeing guys wanting to just put up a bunch of garbage shots, trying to go for the highlight reel. even if it doesn't make any sense. Like, you'll have a center on your team, but he's pretty much a glorified rebounder is really all he is. And, like, the points that they get are just garbage points. Just like a rebound and then, you know, putting it back up. You're not integrating them as part of your offense where you're throwing it into them and having them actually execute moves and shooting and having them be a real true threat. There are so few teams that actually do that. It's just, you know, that's just that's something that I've always felt passionately about basketball. You know, I wish that it would go back to being a very dynamic sport, but alas, it is getting further and further away from it, and it starts really at the high school level. And until something happens saying, look, the product on the court is getting worse and worse with time, it's never going to change. And then I realized that we're only about one run away from blowing this thing all the way open. I mean, pretty much the innards are falling out of the collective stomach of this game right now, and all we need is just that last 1 inch of intestines to hit the floor, that the infection spreads, and that the game is finally over, and we will have put the lovely ladies thoroughly in all of their in their graves. And then all the grieving will commence, and the family members, and the lesbian girlfriends, and like the boyfriends and whatnot, and all that. They'll do the grieving process, and then everybody will move on, and then we'll go on with our lives onto a new team, and that'll be exciting, actually. That's one of my favorite things. It's like the first couple of games against a brand new team where the competition level has spiked up just a little bit, where you know, the skill level of the team you're playing against is either, like, just about equal to you, or maybe just a little bit better. Like, that's my favorite part. Because that's when you really kind of have that urgency where you're kind of feeling each other out a little bit, which sounds really sexual, but it's not. It's all in theory, ladies and gentlemen. We're up 11-0. This thing is almost over. I mean, we're still gonna have some fun with this because I'm trying to keep these batting averages up as high as humanly possible. But yeah, I haven't really released what team we're going to be playing next, but you'll see at the end of this here video. Oh god, there you go. It's nice to know that we're actually set up pretty well to head into this. Like when I had played through this at a different time, I played with a different team. And, oh boy, he was hosed. He was garden hosed. Come on, baby, you're gonna Oh, he made it. That was great. I had played, and, like, my team wasn't anywhere near this good with the season mode that I had fired up. Like, they were okay, but there were a lot of games that, like, I was teetering on the edge of losing in a lot of games. Like, there were only just, I think, maybe 1 or 2 games over that 10-game campaign in which I legitimately was just laying the wood on him. Like, this, we pretty much had that going most of the time. It seems like. Look at that, a bases clearing triple, and it's 16-16 love right now. Like, this is like watching a T-ball game right now. Like, it reminds me of the good old days when I actually played T-ball, where even though for me, like, I was not to toot my own horn or anything, but like I was so good on my team. Oh boy, nice double play. Gotta give them credit there. They don't execute a lot of double plays, but they did there. It was good. We'll bring in Marley just to clean up the rest of the bloody mess here. I was pretty good. Like, I mean, I took a lot of training from my dad, you know, growing up. So I mean, I was kind of in better shape than others. For a lot of players in my league at that point, like, this was their first experience with organized baseball at all. For me, I mean, I was practicing with my dad, you know, day and night all the time. So, like, I'd have to use the tee at least once. I think it was at least once during a game. But otherwise, they'd do like just underhand pitching to me, and I'd hit that way. But in 1 year, I hit like 25 home runs. Mainly because the kids are terrible, and I mean, obviously, that's just, if you hit anything past the infielders, you're probably going to at least get a triple out of it, because the kids have bad arms and whatnot. But I hit a lot of home runs in there, and that's just kind of, like, the scores would be like this all the time, because I had the best team out of everybody. And so we would win games, like, Like, I remember this one game that we played against, oh, who was it? It was against P&M Automotive. We played against them, and we beat them 36-1. It was just so bad. And, like, they ended up having to call the game in the 5th inning. Like, we played 6 innings back then. They called the game in the 5th inning because the other kids on the other team were crying. Like, looking back at it now, I feel kind of bad about it, but, like, at the time, I was just like, yeah! The other guys are crying! Whee! It was... Oh man, it was awesome. That's what it was all about back then. You just wanted to just totally rip their livelihood right out of their chests, and we certainly did. Oh boy, there were no prisoners taken there. I mean, there was no child left behind in the campaign of just ruining their collective lives. It was so awesome. Okay, so let's gear up for our next challenge here. We've still got some money left. I think everybody's going to cost at least 20,000 to upgrade here. And I think we're actually going to we're going to spend some money on a couple of really shitty guys here. We're going to put a little bit of stuff into Rod here. He'll get a little bit of that, okay? And then I think that we'll who's going to get this? I'm just gonna do this. I'm just gonna do this for 5 seconds, and then whoever it stops on, we're gonna do it that way. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, Johnny's not gonna get it. 3 more seconds. 1, 2, 3. All right, Fuller's getting it. He won the... Oh my god, and he got 6 points. That's even better. Okay, so we're gonna give him 1 on defense, 1 on running, 1 on batting, 1 on hitting. How's about another for running and 1 prestige? Fantastic. Okay, guys. Well, you know what? I think that we are perfectly set up for our next challenge. So, when we come back on the next installment of Sports Sunday, in which we play Baseball Stars, we are going to be playing against the SNK Crushers. They are our next challenge in this whole thing, and it's gonna be fun. They're definitely better. They are definitely better than the Lovely Ladies. Significantly, not necessarily, but they are a step up. So that will be who we take on next. Until then, my friends, and this is your host, Lovely Cheese Pizza, saying thank you guys for watching, and I will see you next time. Take care, everybody. Bye.